Hello everyone, in this video we're gonna look at the incoming Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries in 2025. You know that astrology is the study of cycles, and a conjunction means end of a cycle and beginning of a new cycle. So it's very important because the last cycle must end to allow a new cycle. You know, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, if we look at this conjunction, we need to study first, study each of these planets' energies separately. You know, Saturn we can relate with labor, for example, authority, governments, structures, authoritarian tendencies, limitations, restrictions, time, laws and regulations, for example, structure, building, control, for example. Neptune is about, you know, spirituality, humanism, for example, rebellion, unitarian, socialism, for example. It has religious tendencies. It's about the occult, the hidden things, unconscious mind, karma, our past. It has, as I said, humanitarian and egalitarian tendencies, and can be closely linked with socialist tendencies. This combination brings to mind, for example, workers' movements, uprisings, capitalism without frontiers, globalization, and realization of ideals, for example, expansionism, globalization, religious capitalism. For example, French Revolution occurred under a Saturn-Neptune opposition. So that's why I said we can link this transit with revolutions, and it can also be related with the rise of capitalism, extension of capitalism, and shift of power and change of rulers, for example. You know that Saturn is about authority and rulers, and Neptune is about expansion, about moving this authority beyond the frontiers, beyond the borders. You know, the latest conjunction was in 1989, the latest Saturn-Neptune conjunction, marked with rising globalism, you know, and crumbling of communist world, you know, communist regimes all around the world, and this uprising against communist regimes, another shift of power, change of rulers. You know, as I said, conjunctions mark the end of a cycle and start a new cycle. So understanding of the last cycle is really important. The last cycle in Capricorn has also been about this change of power, the leadership. Rulers, governments, and structures help global economies, global capitalism to grow, and countries that support this idea of globalism has been ruling the world. Globalization has been rising since then, since the collapse of these regimes, and this helped free trade and capitalist giants build production facilities beyond the borders globally, in order to increase profitability. You know that Saturn is also about profit, yield. You know, the last cycle in Capricorn, it had many turning points, important turning points. One of these turning points was rising to power of some very strong leaders that are still ruling. For example, Putin came to power in 2001 on under a Saturn-Neptune trine. In many countries, such changes occurred, and some regimes with authoritarian tendencies came to power. They supported these expansionist policies. Also, in some countries, religious capitalists gained ground and gained the upper hand and caused important structural changes in society. As I said, these governments followed expansionist policies for the control of natural resources and money, at least as I said, in their own region. So this cycle is ending, and we are witnessing the global the collapse of this system based on debt, this growth system based on debt. There are so many indebted people in countries as never because of this system. At the end of this cycle, we are seeing people are angry with this system because this system has created so many indebted people and indebted kids. Babies are born with debt because of this system. Expansionism, financially, money printing, paper money is becoming worthless because we have been printing so much paper. People think they are making a lot of money through risky financial assets, through stock exchange and other risky assets, but actually this is false, because this is just an illusion. This is just rising up the prices of the other valuable safe assets that we need to survive. For example, land and farms. You can check why billionaires today are buying land and farms. Almost in everything we buy, water is used. You know, I think one of the biggest challenges that we need to face in the near future is how to use water resources efficiently, because we have been abusing water resources, even to produce the tools that we use to produce green energy. We're using a lot of water, for example, for the production of lithium batteries and solar panels, semiconductors. So much water is used. So it's something to be really worried about. So drought is something we need to worry about in the near future, and we can relate Neptune in areas with the scarcity of water resources. So I think we must focus on the root cause of this problem. If we don't stop our consumption habits, if we don't stop buying more and more and producing more and more, it's never gonna end, and we're gonna end up with more scarce water resources. And well, now let's dive to what happened in the previous cycles. You know, the astrology is about the study of cycles. We need to study what happened in the previous cycles to understand the possible outcomes of news cycle. You know, the news cycle is never gonna be same, but we can benefit from the what happened in the previous cycles, as I said, to predict the outcomes of the news cycle. For example, conjunction at 1700 in Aries, a great storm in Atlantic killed thousands of people. Neptune is about natural disasters and seas. Ritual suicide in Japan, another thing that resonates with Neptune's energies, self-undoing. Swedish army beats Russians. Religious leaders, painters, writers, saints born during that time. Dutch and English invades, occupy Colonia, another proof of expansionist military actions. Natural disasters, as I said, many earthquakes, trade agreements, globalization. Neptune is also about expansion and agreements to take this trade beyond own borders. It's globalization. And when we look at the cycle before that, the cycle in 1830 in Aries, a period marked with 100 years of war, another proof of expansionism through military action. Moscow's great monarch defeat Mongols, the invaders, Mongol invaders. Many famous artists, writers, religious, spiritual leaders born during that time and very influential. Sea battles, for example, uprisings in England and East Anglia. That we can relate Neptune with rebellion, with uprising, rising up against authorities, Saturn. French king declared no tax forever. Neptune has this socialist and humanitarian energies. So it was an adjustment of regulations in favor of the deprived in that way. Neptune's energies help grow democracy and the society, democracy in its real sense, and rulership of the people, and the servants of the society are the rulers, actually become rulers. Saturn is related with rulers, governments, but also the downside is that Saturn has autocratic tendencies. It can also be linked with authoritarian leaders, with restrictions, limitations, government limiting life of people. This is a combination of earth and water, which we expect to reinforce pluralism, actually. On the other hand, this combination may manifest itself as realization of expansionist ideals. Materialization of ideals in areas especially, which we can relate with putting things to action, taking action for our ideals. Your motivations can be put into action. How about bringing together? So your ideals are put into action through war, and expansionism put into action through war. It's not possible that a single event occur in the sky without interacting with the energies of other planets, this conjunction is going to be interacting with the energies of Uranus and Pluto, as I explained in my video about this trine, Uranus-Neptune, Uranus-Pluto, and Saturn-Neptune, all interacting with each other at an intersection, intersection of a cycle. Their energies flow harmoniously, helping human beings to develop, to reach a new level of consciousness, improve quality of life for everyone. You know, Pluto-Uranus trine maybe can be linked with the transformation of the financial system we can see in the near future, and maybe in global digital currency, a new currency, and then getting rid of this paper money, still controlled by governments, I think, can be possibility. Saturn-Neptune cycle is about global rulership. So implementing the ideals of a nation, in terms of global rulership, you know, globalization, control of seas. Saturn is about control, gaining control, having control of these resources, seas and water resources, production, you know, making production available beyond a nation's own frontiers. On the other hand, a fight for domination, and in the form of war in the fiery sign Aries, supported by this huge leap in technology. The destructive power becomes more available to everyone, and also destructive power of the war increases, right? Can be really dangerous if not used constructively and peacefully. Another possibility is that the wars, you know, you can see it everywhere, wars of the future are going to be fought over water. This phrase, a question, is it, you know, what we're witnessing today is proof of this. What we're witnessing today in Europe, a fight over the control of natural resources, natural gas, and water is also a natural resource, actually. It gives an idea about what we can expect from the next cycle, what's happening at the end of this cycle. Another thing is, for example, hydrogen. Will hydrogen be used more effectively in the production of electricity? It's one of the possibilities. Can we expect important scientific breakthroughs in this area? Is it gonna be used more widely in the industry? Yeah, maybe. It seems possible. If Neptune is about ideologies, then fantasies and idealism and art, spirituality, and Aries is the sign of leaders, pioneers. So we can expect new leaders, spiritual leaders, religious leaders, artists, influencing people, new spiritual currents, religious currents, artwork, writers, publishing, spiritual awakening, occult, the rise of occult, maybe a new age for the occult, and maybe spirituality and religion in action. wars around religion and ideology. Neptune is about ideology in the fiery sign, war sign areas. It can be about whose ideology is gonna win, whose ideology is gonna be the dominating one. These are the keywords of this new cycle. Saturn is about rules and laws and regulations also. And we know that Neptune is about maritime seas. So we can expect new regulations, laws in that area, new trade agreements, for example, discoveries in maritime transport, more improved mobility, and through the technological transformation, support of the Pluto-Uranus trine, hopefully a technological miracle. That Neptune is about the womb, birth, and babies. The birth and death maybe. So we can expect new discoveries made in that area, and mechanisms of birth, and that we can expect a big leap, big advanced scientific breakthrough. It's already happening. We are very close to understanding these mechanisms more than ever. And Neptune is about uprising, has these rebellious tendencies, and it can be linked with left-wing movements, workers' movements, has democratic tendency. It's about being united, rebelling against authority. The Neptune, destroyer of forms and existence structures. Now we put them together, the destroyer of structure with the structure itself, and combined with Saturn, the builder, the structure. It really makes sense to think that this combination is about uprising, manifests, and marches. So we can expect the uprising to manifest, to put into action, rising up against the rulers, implementation of new laws and regulations protecting the people. People who no more believe in the false promises of this collapsing system. So we can move to a more egalitarian, humanitarian society. Well, as I said in my previous videos, Jupiter, Neptune is about inflation, is an outward manifestation of the unlimited expansion. But you know that nothing can keep rising forever, and this expansion must end at some point. And this is gonna be done by Saturn, which is representing limits, limitations, the restrictions. This pair goes together. Saturn Jupiter are complementary pair. Expansion versus limitation. Saturn-Neptune follows this cycle actually to bring an end to this unlimited expansion. The inflation is, as I said, is an external manifestation. Saturn will help stop this expansion through restriction, laws and regulations. For example, raising interest rates is a good example of this, and monetary tightening, stopping printing money, for example. As I said, nothing will keep rising forever, and this expansion will stop. How this conjunction can affect you at personal level? First of all, this is a new start for you. You know, a conjunction is the end of a cycle for you. So you must get rid of the remains of this ending cycle, and this cycle coming close to its end. And for example, if this conjunction is happening in the first house of your natal chart, then it's certainly a new start for you, that can help to make your ideals come true. It means you take action to make them come true, to make your dreams come true. You are gonna act on your own to realize them. If, for example, your 10th house is affected, then it means this new start is gonna happen in your career, and this you're making a new start in your career, taking action, realize your ideals in your career. If they were not well grounded, if you have not been realistic, Saturn will help you to ground them, to test the practicality. If your dreams are pure illusion, if you have been in an illusion, then Saturn will make you face with the reality, the truth, separate you from these false hopes and ideals, and put you on a path on which you can rebuild them more solidly through this new start. Thank you for watching.